January 9th, 2019. We'll call the meeting of the Troy Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cappers? Mr. McGarry?
Here.
Mayor?
Here.
Mrs. Mahan?
Here.
Mrs. Sneed? Here. Mr. Titterington?
Here.
Mr. Wolke?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, first order of business is the minutes. I believe everybody has those in front of them, and they're mailed out with our packets.
Yep. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion. Second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Adopted or approved. Okay, next order of business is the reorganization, election of the chairman and vice chairman for the planning commission.
I'll make a motion that Mr. Cappers be re-selected as chairman.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Vote for roll call for approval. Can you do roll call?
If you wish.
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers is elected.
Okay, we also have the vice chairman position open. Is there any nominations?
I'll make a motion that Mr. McGarry be selected as vice chairman.
Second.
I will accept the position if so voted on. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
You are overwhelmingly elected.
My first and last time that'll happen. Okay, the first application we have is a historic district application at 5 East Main Street for a sign permit for, if I say this wrong, Review Juicery. Owner is Matt Irwin. Tim, do you have a report?
Yes, sir, we do. Applicant, you nailed the name. Applicant Amber Sowers of Review Juicery is requesting approval for some vinyl window signage to be installed at their new location at 5 East Main Street. The property is on B3 Central Business District and is located on the north side of East Main in the first block east of the public square. OHI form describes the Coleman Allen building as a 3-story commercial building, high Victorian Italianate style, and the building is on the National Register. The proposal, applicant is proposing to install window signage and vinyl graphics on both windows and a smaller logo on the entry door along with their hours of operation. Attached is the diagram of the layout for that. The amount of square footage that they are proposing is 15 square feet. The building is permitted to have maximum of 29.25 square feet in signage. Again, the material is vinyl. The color of that will be white. I know in the layout it's black. You can't print white. The attached sign layout is in the packet there, has been reviewed for compliance, and staff does recommend approval.
Do we have samples at all, or is it just pure white?
It's just a pure white graphic on white vinyl, or using white vinyl, sorry. This is vinyl lettering.
So the lettering is white and the background is black, or the other way around?
It's just the glass,
Oh, just the glass.
just on glass.
So it's white.
Right on glass.
Gotcha now.
White on glass. And is this a typo?
It
It's
is.
supposed to be cleanses then? Is
Yes,
it?
that is cleanses, yes. They did catch that.
Didn't know it was some specialty or something.
I would move for approval.
A motion for approval.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sneed? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, next item of business is an historical district application at 101 East Water Street for fence modifications by applicant and owner Kyle Thompson. Staff have a report?
Yes, sir, we do. Applicant Mr. Thompson is requesting planning commission approval for a, I want to say a new new portion of fence, it is already installed. This was something we did a code case on. The property is zoned R7 multifamily residential. It's at the corner of East Water Street and Walnut Street. OHI form, it's an old portion of the residential section of the core city. It's neoclassic veranda, diagonal corner front entry, and being of an irregular shaped house. It is not listed on the Historic National Registry. Applicant is proposing to modify the plan that was presented to us previously and to bring the fence into compliance with the fence ordinance zoning code. And obviously, you know, if you do approve, to get historic approval. Currently, along the front yard of Walnut Street is a 6-foot privacy fence that was placed by the applicant. As I mentioned, we did a code case on that. In trying to come to a conclusion with this, the applicant has come back and is proposing to cut the fence down to meet the front yard fence allowance of 42 inches in height, remove every other board to make it open style, and then also do a stain, which is royal mahogany, and that stain color is attached in your packet. In doing all that, those modifications to the existing 6-foot fence that currently exists, it would bring it into compliance with Troy zoning and the fence codes. We do recommend it for approval.
The modification has nothing to do with relocating anything, it's just a matter of modifying the height.
Correct.
And then removing the boards.
Correct. Cutting it down to the 42 inches, removing it, every other board, creating an open style fence actually allows it to be in the front yard as it currently sits.
But you're not asking, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
you're not asking for zoning approval, you're asking for the historic review approval because it's
Correct.
in the downtown district.
Correct.
Okay, and because it's a corner lot, it's got 2 front yards, and that's where it comes into a problem with that section that's in front of the Walnut side street frontage along the house itself.
Yes, sir. Correct.
So behind the house, we consider that rear yard, and so they can be the full 6 feet.
Correct. If they were on the rear property line facing the back door neighbor, that could be 6 feet.
Got
But
it.
along where this fence is placed, it's considered front yard.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I'm wondering, what is the reason for prohibiting a solid fence?
The decorative open style, as it mentions in the fence code, I would guess that portion is because of it being in a front yard due to site distances and
So it's not a historic fence?
being
No,
open
we
style. No, I don't.
In the front yard, in any front yard, at 42 inches, and it has to be an open style fence.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But from
That's
a
our fence
historic
code.
perspective, I don't
Okay,
think there's
I guess I don't understand the logic.
It's aesthetics, and it's because it's in the front yard.
Okay.
That's
Any other-
a long-standing requirement of the fence code, I believe, yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm just thinking back to Huckleberry Finn. I don't think that was an every other slat fence that he was painting.
Maybe not.
That was Hannibal, Missouri.
Yeah, it was a different community.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions by the commission?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
I second. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead? Yes, approved.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the rezoning application for 44 Peters Road from M1 Light Industrial District to a PD. Owner is Jason Marco. Is staff has a report ready?
Yes, sir.
You're busy
Three,
today.
yeah. Busy month so far. The property and business owner, Mr. Marco, who is in the audience today and available if you have any questions directly for him, he's requesting a zoning amendment for plan or rezoning for plan development his parcel at 44 Peters Road. It consists of 1.117 acres. It's located on the south side of Peters, across from what everybody knows as Ducky's, there at the corner. There is a map in your packet showing the area and the proposed layout under this general plan. The established zoning on this property is actually M2 light industrial. Currently has one structure previously built in 2016. The surrounding area contains a mixed developed properties being residential, commercial, and industrial. There is a map also in your packet showing the layout and where those zonings are in relationship to proposed property. The layout, as mentioned, currently has a 5,200 square foot building located to the front portion of the property. The applicant is proposing a 30 by 220 foot building consisting of 6,600 square feet. Has access directly to Peters Road currently, will maintain that singular access. It will be paved around the building, and the proposed use is a outdoor, or I'm sorry, storage unit facility, many storage units in the vehicle, or use the vehicle and for the building itself. The uses for it, as I mentioned, is self-storage facility, and other uses is allowed in the M2 underlying zoning. Existing parking is currently there based on the previously built building and would still be under compliance with the ordinance. The reasoning for the PD is the ordinance doesn't allow two principal structures on a property due to the stormwater and sanitary sewer easements and lines that run through this property. It wouldn't allow connecting to the building. So the applicant is requesting the PD to essentially have that second principal structure. All the same uses, landscaping requirements will be met. He will be meeting the 10% open space requirements for the PD. There's a drainage section and open section on the southwest side of the property as well. As far as the comprehensive plan compliance, staff believes it does meet those requirements. Staff is not recommending a public hearing for the Planning Commission at this time, since the council, in a positive recommendation from PC is given to council. Council will be required to have a public hearing.
Okay, so the first item of business we'll have is to determine whether or not to have a public hearing. The second will be to make a recommendation to council.
I'll make a motion that there not be a public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Planning Commission will not hold a public hearing.
Okay. The only question I had, it's just more for clarification. This would be a PD zoning over, or how would that work? Over an M1 zoning? Is that, so you meet all the requirements of that, or excuse me, of M2, you meet all the requirements of M2, but it'd be a PD?
Correct.
Okay. Now, being a PD, is it limited that if this business fails in 3 years, it's still, nothing can change as far as the usage and unless the PD is modified or reconsidered, right?
What we would have for the allowed uses are the existing allowable uses currently under M2 as well.
Oh, okay.
The permitted use that we're going to permit him for is the storage facility as it currently is, and then if the business were to fail or be sold, any of the permitted uses currently under M2 will
Okay.
also be allowed.
Yeah, that's why I need the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions by?
So the reason the PD is required is because there's two primary buildings to be located on it, and that's the only way you can do that?
Correct.
I'll move for approval,
Second.
We have a
or recommendation to council,
recommendation
yes, positive.
not to have a hearing, or excuse me, not recommendation to council for approval.
Positive, right.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Yes, we have a second. Yes, we have a second. Okay. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snee? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Next item of business is a preliminary plan for the reserve at Washington subdivision located on the east side of Washington Road near McCurdy Road intersection. Submitted by Troy Land Development Incorporated. We have a report.
We do, thank you. I thought I'd give Robert this one off, so I'll handle this one. This was an application by Choice One Engineering, and the owner is Jessica Meinsinger, who is in the audience, in case you have any questions. And this is for the construction of a new single-family subdivision along Washington Road. It's near the McCurdy Road intersection. Essentially, this was zoned R3 by City Council pretty recently in the past, and now the subdivision, which would contain a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet, is requested to be created. If this is approved by the Planning Commission, a final plat would follow, which would go through City Council to create the lots and finish out the subdivision. So this is kind of the first step with the preliminary plan. The uses and layouts, it's all single family. It would contain 50 buildable lots. They range from 0.344 acres to 0.796 acres. And just for a point of reference, 0.344 is the minimum, which is the 15,000 lots. They will have 2 phases. The first one will be 26 lots created. The second phase would consist of the remaining 24 lots. You can see the roadways. There's a map attached to it. The Newcastle Drive would extend and connect to Washington Road with a road kind of running a horseshoe around it and 2 cul-de-sacs. And the utilities would be, this would be serviced by city water and sewer. It would have stormwater control by a retention area in the southeast portion, and as well as sewers and things of that nature in the development. This has gone before the park board for fees in lieu of instead of the park land. The code requires 3%, which is 1 acre, but that was waived and approved by the park board last week. There are easements on the property which are noted on the preliminary plan, mostly stormwater and landscaping easements. There would be no connectivity or access to Washington Road other than the street connection of Newcastle Drive, so there'd be no driveway cuts on Washington. And the home values as submitted by the applicant are between $325,000 to $400,000. Staff does recommend approval of the preliminary plan. It is in accordance with the zoning code, subdivisions, and engineering standards. The fire department as well has given approval of the preliminary plan.
Okay, thank you for the report. Just again, just clarification. They talk about the landscape easement and along Washington Road there's an easement. How is that maintained or who maintains that?
The homeowners association would maintain all easements.
So the homeowners association would take place for that for easement and the stormwater easement?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought. That would make sure. Any other questions or comments by?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Would the first access be on Washington or through Fox Harbor?
Phase 1, and that would be up to the development. Phase 1 actually has both of those in. It would extend, if you kind of look at the map, you have phase 1 at the bottom that runs through the middle. That actually is all phase 1. And then phase 2 is on both to the right and left. So if you're looking at it, it's like a T.
Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, that section of Fox Harbor doesn't exist at this point, am I correct?
That is correct.
So wouldn't they have to go into Washington?
They would start off at Washington, they would connect at this point, and then when Frank comes back through this point, it could time out. It's up to how fast Fox Harbor gets developed.
Okay, I may have misunderstood what you were saying, but am I correct that phase 1 is away from Washington?
No, phase 1 actually would connect Washington Road all the way through Newcastle, would extend.
So it's the middle along Newcastle?
It's the middle is phase 1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the road lines kind of get confused with the, I believe is it storm sewers that run down the middle? What am I looking at? Yeah, the larger map does show the small map shows it clear. Any other questions or comments by commission? Is there any recommended action?
Just a point of clarification, there is access to this development off of Washington?
Correct, yes. It's just there would no driveways would have, no individual lots would have access onto Washington Road. It would be the main entrance to the
That would
subdivision.
just be the entranceway into the
That's correct.
development. I'll move for approval.
Any motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed,
Yes.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, is there any other additional business?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay. If you said any other comments by commission?
Move for adjourn.
We have a motion for adjournment
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.